Hi everybody, this is Pam with Jesusjunkjournals, and I am going on with the Book of Matthew journal. Before I go on though, I wanted to show you something. I did this little short video on what to do with brown brown paper like you get in an Amazon package or something. Sometimes they wad it up and use it for just to hold things in place. And of course we all save it. So then what do we do? And I was just going to show you. This is what I did, and it's dry. I had some scrapbook paper, and I glued the scrapbook paper sheets to the big piece of brown paper and then cut them out. So now I have these lovely prepared sheets, and I had a piece of Franken paper here that's something else I do with the brown paper. And anyway, they were laying here and they were dry, and I was like, oh, these look so awesome, because now they're ready to cut up and make tags and things, and it just makes me happy to look at them. So I thought I'd show them to you guys. Okay, so here is where we're at with the Matthew journal. And so it's time to think about the cover. So what I do, I like to do this part first and see and put everything in it and kind of get an idea about how thick it is so that I know how wide to make the spine. So otherwise you kind of end up with those gator mouth journals. So I need a ruler. Let me go grab a ruler. And let me grab a pen. So looks to me like 3 inches would, no, not even 3 inches, maybe 2.5 inches would be plenty for the spine. So 2.5 inches on the spine. Okay, so 2.5 inches wide on the spine. And I always draw myself a little picture. And then I want it to stick out like 1/2 inch on each end, top and bottom. And so it's 8 inches, 1/2 inch on each side would make it 9 inches. And then the front and the back would be, okay, so these pages are 5 inches, so 5.5 inches wide on the cover and on the back cover. So those are the dimensions that I need to make my frame that I'm going to build my cover on. So, oh, and okay, one more thing I do. So the way I do mine when I do this kind of a binding is I make 2 pieces for the spine. I do a piece of cardboard, I stitch these to the cardboard, and then I glue that to the other piece of the spine just to make it stronger. So I need 2 of these, whoops, times 2 for the spine. Okay, so, and then the other thing I wanted to think about was, what do I want it to be on the outside? And I pulled these fabrics out because I just recently bought a bunch of fabric, and I wanted to see if any of these look like something I would want to use for my cover. And oh, these are pretty, but I feel like it needs to be something not quite so feminine as like big flowers and everything. Dandelion wouldn't be too bad. These are pretty small. I don't know if these are big enough. Okay, so let me keep looking. Tim Holtz fabric. I mean, that would be pretty. That's a pretty one. Do I have enough for a cover? Yes. Okay, so that's a possibility. And this is a possibility. Let's see, what else do I have here? That would be pretty. So with that. Okay. All right, so I'm gonna look at these real quick. All right. I like that a lot. Okay, I think I'm going to do this one. Let me lay this out. See if I still like it. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty neat. I like that. And I can put other things on it too. Okay, so I kind of picked out what the journal's going to look like on the outside. Oops. So now I need to cut my cardboard out for the frame, and I'm going to get a box to cut my cardboard out of. Okay, well, I was digging through my stash of boxes and things, and I found some more brown paper. So this is what I was talking about earlier. They just wad it up and use it for packing, but this looks like fun to me. I'm going to use a piece of paper just because it'll be straight edges, be square, and make my pattern and then do it so I get a square piece. So I want it to be 9 by 5.5. So I'm going to measure both ends. Don't forget when you use these kind of rulers that there's a little space on the end. And you don't want that in there, so. Okay, so there's my patterns. And they're going to be fairly square. And the truth is, by the time you draw these on a piece of cardboard and then cut that out, you know, it may be square or it may not be square. It's not going to be perfect, but that's okay. It'll be close enough, especially for a junk journal. Now, for the inner spine, I'm going to use chipboard because I'm going to sew it to it, and I can't imagine trying to sew it to a piece of corrugated cardboard. So I'll go get my little cereal box here in a minute and cut that second spine. Okay, I got them cut out, and I can tear off any loose pieces if I want to. It doesn't really matter, but take off some of these stickers. All right, so what I'm going to do is use masking tape and glue and put these together into a frame. And you want a little bit of space between the cover and the spine so that it can open and close easily. Let me get my Barely Art glue out here. I've finally trained myself to just clean the nozzle every time I use it, and things are going better. Things are going better with my glue. And the reason for the glue is to make it archival, so that we're not depending on the glue on this tape to last forever. Glue on the side. And then I'm going to trim the tape off. Okay, so there's our journal cover frame. Take my cereal box apart. And I'll use my pattern. I'm going to have to use it over here. And then I'm going to trim it off just a little bit less wide than that, so that I just like to have it a little bit, tiny bit smaller than the spine in the width. It fits better. And I'm going to use my cheap scissors and cut it out. So now I'm going to take my 3 signatures and take a look at them. Like the first 2 look thicker right now, so I'm going to allow room. Let's see. So I need 3 lines, and I'm going to start it like about here and about here. So there's where 2 of my lines will go. So I'm just going to draw a line there. And a line there, and then I need one right in the middle. And so it's about 1 1/4. So a half and 3/8. 1, 2, 3. So right there. I'm just trying to get it right in the middle of those 2 lines. I mean, the other thing you can do, oh, you know what, I forgot, you guys. I forgot that I'm going to do a journaling signature. Not as thick as these, but I need that to go in there. Okay, so I'm going to make X's on this because I don't want that line. I'm going to get it like just as close over here. So my little plain paper signature that people can write in will be on that edge. Okay, so that changes. So now I need to come over. Well, actually, I need it. Let's see. No, that's about the room that it'll take for that signature. So then I need to come over probably, I'm going to say this far for my next signature. I can't read all those little marks, and I don't feel like counting them. So I'm just going to make myself a mark from here to here and come down here and do it that way. And then that will be where my signature goes, my first signature. And then it needs this third signature of these 3. The middle one needs to go right in the middle of these. And again, with the lines, So I'm just going to make a mark here. I know I'm being lazy. And I'm going to fold my paper in half, and that's my middle part. So I'm going to make a mark right there and move it down here. Make a mark right there, put X there. And so that's where the 3 signatures should go. Let me think for a minute, because I kind of feel like this one could come over just a little bit, because one of these signatures is not as fat. So I'm going to just move this over. I'll make an executive decision and move this over. Put X on this one. That gives it a little bit more room on this side for that last signature. Okay, I think I'm ready now. So what I'm going to do is sew my signatures to this spine. And so I need my bookbinding kit, get my awl out, and I might as well get my needle threaded too, right? Let's see. Two and a half times the height of your spine is what you're doing when you cut your wax linen thread. And I'm going to do this just like I did it when I stitched these signatures together. So this is going to be in the front, so you want to make sure you keep these in the right order. I want my signature that I'm going to make that has the plain paper in it to be in the back. So that means I turn it this way. So that means my first signature needs to go here. And so I'm going to lay it here, and I am going to center it top to bottom as best I can. And I try usually not to hit those same holes with thread, just because it makes it stronger if you pick a different place. So I'm going to go there, and I'm going to go here, and I'll go down here. And so that shows me where I need to poke my holes. Okay, so and find the center of this. Now these are full. It would be easier if I'd empty it, but I'm going to see if I can get away with not emptying it. So I'm punching the holes where my ink marks are. And I'll put my string from the back. So I'm going to go ahead and put it through that hole, put it through this hole. It's much easier because these things are sewed together, so you don't have to try to hold everything while you're doing it. Poke it back through this hole and this hole, and pull it through, and leave a tail to tie it. And then you're going to do the same thing you did before. It's a figure 8. You're going to go through this middle hole and not snag that thread, which sounds easy, but sometimes it's not. Okay, and then I just pulled my thread out. Okay. All right, let's try it again. And then you come back through this hole again without snagging your thread. And pull it tight. And then you need to go back through that middle hole in the book and not snag the thread. And then back through the top. And back through the hole in the spine, and then take your needle off, pull it real tight so there's no slack, all the way up and down, and then tie a knot, pull it to the center and tie a knot, and I tied 3 because I don't want it to slip. And then I'm going to cut it off because it's going to get covered up when we glue it to the frame we just built. Okay, so there's the first one. So now the second one. And yeah, I'm going to use this one next. And leave that thinner one to the back. I think that'll be better. Oh yeah, 1, 2, 2.5, something like that. Okay, so I'm going to now line this up with its counterpart here. I'm looking at this signature, and now I'm looking at this signature more than I am centering it top to bottom, because I want these all to line up. So I'm doing that. I'm going to make a mark where I'm going to punch my holes, and then I'm going to take this thing and punch my holes with my awl. Oh, I'm sorry, I've got to punch the holes in this too. Okay, so I'm going to punch this hole. So I'm going to take my spine, put it back through the middle hole, poke it through the middle hole that I made in my signature. Sometimes you have to work it around a little bit. Let's see. So I'm going to pull it through and leave myself a good amount. Be sure you got your signatures right side up. I have been known to sew them in upside down. Have to redo it, so don't do that. Put it in the new hole you poked at the top. Put it through this hole. And now we're going to do that where we don't want to snag the thread from the last time. And you don't want to drop this you don't want to drop this tail either, because it can get away from you if you're not careful. Okay, so we're here, and now we're going to go back through here without snagging the thread. So I'm just using that same hole, but I'm putting it up right at the top of it so it doesn't catch it. But I did manage to catch this one. So carefully I'm going to undo that. There. Pull this through. And it's cinching it up. Uh-oh, did I lose my tail? I did. Okay, I lost this tail through here, so I'm going to see if I can. There. Yay! Whew! You don't want to lose that. Okay. So I'm going to pull it tight. And now we're going up to the top hole. Put the needle in there. And put the needle in this hole. And then we're going to pull everything tight. Okay, trim that off. And now we're ready for the third one. I'm going to lay this so that it lines up with the other. And see, even though, look at that, even though I tried to be careful and line that up, see how it's not exactly lining up with that one. So keeping that in mind. Okay, and then this is the line I'm going to use. I'm going to line it up with that first one as best I can. So we've got them on a spine now. And it looks like, I mean, they may stick out a little bit, but I think it'll be okay. I probably could have done a 3-inch spine, it looks like, probably, but it'll be all right. Okay, and so now I think I better get that signature done of the journaling paper. So let me pull some paper out for that. Okay, and I have a stash of paper that I use for this. So I have this graph paper. I'll use a sheet of that. I have this paper where I've done coffee through actually a placemat. And then I have these sheets where I've stamped very lightly, just a little bit of a design. And so I'm going to fold these in half. And actually these are going to need to be trimmed because this is 8.5 by 11. So let me get this. Let me see my pattern for my cover. So I mean, it's just a little bit, looks like I just need to maybe trim a little bit off of that edge. Okay, so and this is an edge ruler. You can use a straight edge ruler and do it with a metal ruler. You don't have to have this one, but it does look kind of cool. You can make your own with all sorts of different techniques. I've seen somebody who took a plastic ruler and melted the edge so it was irregular, and then they used that as their tearing ruler. This is also needs to be torn. Okay. All right then. Okay, I think that's plenty. Now this one, I think I'm going to try and put it in without sewing it together first. We'll see how that goes. Okay, so this one is a little bit taller than these. So I'm going to lay it here, center it top to bottom, and then mark where I'm going to put my holes. Okay, and then thread my needle. Oh, I need to poke my holes. Okay, that is that. Okay, and there we have it. Whoops. There's that signature. And it's ready to now glue into your framework. So we take our framework and we use whichever glue we want to use, which I think I will use Fabri-Tac. So let me go grab, I just thinned my Fabri-Tac not too long ago, so it's behaving pretty well. If your Fabri-Tac gets thick, you need to get some acetone and put in it and stir it up with a wooden stick, and it will behave itself again. This spine, and put on here, and kind of move it around and distribute that glue a little bit better. And then I'm going to glue it in top to bottom, and I cut it just a little bit short, although it doesn't look like I did. Cut it a little bit short. I'm going to push it down, and I'm going to get a couple clamps and clamp it on the top. See how it slid? Got to clamp it. Slide it back up, clamp it. Make sure it's still where it needs to be. Push it up from the bottom, clamp it. And I'm clamping it over to this side because I can now fold this cover back and clamp it this direction as well. So I'm going to clamp that. I'm grabbing some medium-sized clamps. And I want to check this before I do this. Let me, it feels like it's needs to come this direction just a little bit. See how that's sticking up? It shouldn't be sticking up. It should be flush there. Okay, better. So I'm going to clamp that and that. And then at the top and at the bottom, and let it dry. All right, we're almost there. I'm going to stop this video. I think that's enough for one day. And I'll come back on the next one and we will move on with the Book of Matthew journal. So thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.